You think you understand yourself. You believe your thoughts are yours. You believe your choices make sense. You believe that when something feels real, it must be true. But that belief, that quiet certainty, is the first lie your mind tells you. Because the truth is far more uncomfortable than you realize. You don't understand yourself nearly as much as you think you do. In fact, most of what you believe about who you are is not truth. It's interpretation. Your mind doesn't show you reality. It shows you a version of reality that keeps you stable, a version that feels consistent, predictable, safe. But underneath that, there's something else, something unstable, something constantly shifting. You think there is a fixed you, a stable identity that exists no matter what, but that's not how your mind works. You are not one person. You are a system, a collection of reactions, impulses, patterns, and adaptations. The version of you when you're alone is not the same version of you around other people. The version of you when you feel confident is not the same version of you when you feel threatened. The version of you when you feel admired is not the same version of you when you feel ignored. And none of these versions are more real than the others. They are all you. But your brain doesn't show you that. It hides it, because inconsistency creates discomfort, and discomfort creates instability. So your brain does something very specific. It stitches all of these versions together into one continuous narrative, a story that feels clean, simple, coherent. This is who I am, even when it isn't. Because the alternative, realizing that your identity is fluid, reactive, and constantly changing, would break your sense of control. And your brain cannot allow that. So it constructs a version of you that feels stable, even if it means distorting reality. Even if it means ignoring contradictions, even if it means rewriting parts of your experience. And this happens silently. You don't notice it. You don't question it. You live inside it. That's why people believe they're consistent, even when their behavior constantly changes. That's why people believe they're rational, even when their decisions are emotional. That's why people believe they know themselves, even when their actions say otherwise. Because your mind doesn't prioritize accuracy. It prioritizes coherence. It wants everything to make sense, even if that sense is built on distortion. And the moment you begin to see that, the moment you notice the gap between who you think you are and how you actually behave, everything starts to shift. Because now you're not looking at identity anymore. You're watching patterns. And patterns don't lie. Patterns reveal things your identity hides. They show repetition. They show contradiction. They show behavior that doesn't match your beliefs. And that's where discomfort begins. Because once you see those patterns, you can't ignore them. You can't pretend they don't exist. You can't go back to the version of yourself that felt certain, because now you're watching yourself from the outside, and what you see doesn't match what you believed. That's the first crack, and once it starts, it doesn't stop.
You believe you make decisions logically. You tell yourself that you analyze situations, that you think things through, that you choose based on reason. But that's not what actually happens. Your decisions are not created by logic. They are created by emotion, and then justified by logic afterward. The process is inverted. Something happens, you react instantly, before thought, before reasoning, before awareness. A feeling appears, attraction, fear, discomfort, curiosity, desire. And in that moment, the decision is already made. You don't notice it because it happens too fast, but your brain does. And immediately after that, it starts building a story, a clean explanation, a logical reason, something that makes your reaction feel intelligent, controlled, intentional. But it isn't. You didn't choose based on what made sense. You chose based on what felt right. And then your mind created a narrative to defend that choice. This happens constantly. You choose people not because they are good for you, but because they feel familiar. You stay in situations not because they are right, but because leaving feels uncomfortable. You believe ideas not because they are true, but because they align with what you already feel. And your brain protects those choices. It filters information. It ignores contradictions. It amplifies anything that confirms your belief. This is not random. This is how your mind is designed to function. Because uncertainty is dangerous. Doubt creates instability, and instability threatens your sense of control. So your brain creates certainty, even when that certainty is false, even when it requires distorting reality. You don't see things as they are. You see things as they fit your internal state, your expectations, your fears, your desires. That's why two people can experience the same situation and walk away with completely different conclusions. Because they're not seeing the same thing. They're filtering reality through different internal systems. And those systems are not neutral. They are biased, conditioned, shaped by past experiences, shaped by emotional patterns, shaped by things you don't even remember consciously. So what you call thinking is often just interpretation, and what you call decision-making is often just justification. And once you understand that, you start to see something uncomfortable. You start to realize that you are not as in control as you thought, that your thoughts are not as reliable as they feel, that your certainty is not as solid as it seems. And that realization changes everything, because now every decision becomes something you question. Every belief becomes something you examine. Every reaction becomes something you observe. And that's where awareness begins. Not when you think more, but when you start doubting the way you think. You trust your memory. You believe that what you remember is what actually happened, that your past is something fixed, something stable, something real. But it's not. Your memory is not a recording. It's a reconstruction. Every time you remember something, you're not retrieving it. You are rebuilding it. And in that process, you change it. You remove details. You reshape events. You soften what hurts. You exaggerate what protects your ego. And over time, that process compounds. Your memories stop reflecting reality and start reflecting identity. You remember things in a way that supports who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who was wronged, your memories will reinforce that. If you see yourself as strong, your past will shift to support that version. If you see yourself as right, your brain will adjust the story until it feels justified. This is not intentional. You don't choose to do this. It happens automatically. Because your brain is not designed to preserve truth. It is designed to preserve stability. And stability requires consistency. So your past gets edited to match your present identity. And that creates a dangerous loop. Because now, your perception of the present is based on a distorted past, and your expectations for the future are built on that same distortion. So you move through life believing you understand your patterns, when in reality, you're repeating them, unconsciously. You think you've learned from your experiences, but most of the time, you've only reinterpreted them in a way that feels comfortable.
in a way that avoids responsibility, in a way that protects your self-image. And that's where self-deception becomes dangerous. Because now, you are not just misunderstanding the world, you are misunderstanding yourself. And when you don't understand yourself, everything becomes unstable. Your decisions, your relationships, your beliefs, your direction, everything becomes built on something unreliable. And yet, it still feels real. That's the most dangerous part. Because the illusion doesn't feel like an illusion. It feels like truth. And most people never question it, because questioning it breaks something. It removes certainty. It removes control. It forces you to confront something most people avoid, that your mind is not a source of truth. It is a system built for survival. And survival does not require accuracy. It requires comfort. It requires stability. It requires protection. Even if that protection comes at the cost of truth. And once you see that, once you understand that your thoughts, your memories, and your identity are all filtered, you reach a point where everything changes. Because now, you are no longer inside the illusion. You are observing it. And once you observe it, you can't go back. Because now you know the voice in your head is not always telling you the truth.